Okay, I want to quickly give you guys a rundown of how Dynamic Connector Block works. Um, Dynamic Connector Block, while we almost always show you guys how to use it with Automatic Block Inserter, is really just a block. So we always show it with Automatic Block Inserter because that's how everyone's been using it. But at its conception, it was something that was going to be manually placed by you. And then it would be something that you could decide using this functionality, okay, what should actually show wherever this block is placed. So that's the reason that usually when we insert it with, let's say, Automatic Block Inserter, it says like, the content of this block can't be determined. And it's just kind of like empty. And all you can do, well, actually, let me show you here, is see, oh, it'll display on the front end and I can select a group. And those are the only options that you have here. So the block itself, like you insert that block and it'll use what's available here on the page to like kind of determine which of these pieces is going to show up. So that's what's dynamic about it. Like when you insert it, you're not inserting a single piece of content. You're inserting the ability to add logic, rules that will let you define what kind of shows up there. And so specifically what we're doing this week is we're setting up 3 different ebooks that you're going to be able to show based on the category of your post. And so that's what these groups are doing. So if you're using a paid version of Dynamic Connector Block, you have access to groups, and that is going to allow you to have multiple pieces of logic that, well, that's getting a little complicated, isn't it? It's basically going to let you insert Dynamic Connector Block multiple times within a post. And so one place can always be your ebooks, whereas another place could always be a recommended product, that sort of thing. So in order to use all 4 of, or maybe 3 of the projects that we're going to do across the weeks, you would need to have the pro version of Dynamic Connector Block. Otherwise, you'll set them all up, but you only have one active at a time because you don't have a group to kind of tell which piece of logic we're following. But let's kind of leave that aside. Instead, what we're going to focus on is the fact that we do have a group, and I'm going to kind of explain how this group goes through this logic. So we're only going to pay attention to dynamic pieces that belong in this ebook group. And you can see that we have 3 ebooks that we set up on Easiest Party Ever. The first one is Party Biz from Couch. The second one is Make Your Own Balloon Garlands. And the third is a generic like party ideas and tips. So on all of my posts, because I am going to use Automatic Block Inserter to insert this block everywhere across my site, I want one of these 3 ebooks to show up. And then that's where this priority comes in. So I'm going to set up rules for this first one. And if it matches, because that's the highest priority, that first ebook is what will be shown. Now, if it doesn't match any of the conditions that I set, what I'm going to do is look for the next highest priority in that same group. In this case, it's Make Your Own Balloon Garlands. I'm going to check the conditions of that. If none of those are met, I'm going to fall back to this last item. It has a priority of 0. It could have a higher priority. It doesn't really matter. But I haven't set up any rules for this. I've just added it to a group. So because this is my last one, and because I haven't set any custom rules for it, it's going to match every post on my site. So if one of these 2 haven't been shown, it'll show this third. You don't have to have a fallback. I just always wanted to make sure that we have an ebook showing on any post on the site. So if I look at Party Biz from Couch, I come in here, I'm going to show you those rule sets again that Hannah set up. She has 3 different rules. If it's in this category, or if it's in Yard Card Biz category, or if it's in business tips, this particular piece of content is going to match. That's going to be the dynamic content that shows up on the post that's being viewed by the user. I could also have turned this on. That would mean it has to contain all 3 of those categories. That's not what I want here. I just need any of those categories. So I'm going to leave this turned off. There are some other options. We currently have title and tag. We'll probably build this out to have more options in the future. We're just trying to go with the ones that are most used by everyone. And then there is a little bit of logic here, contains or doesn't contain. So I could have it where if it doesn't contain Balloon Biz, but it does contain, well, actually I'd have to do match all conditions, and it does contain Yard Card Biz, and it does contain business tips. So I can get some pretty advanced logic here. Really don't need that in the majority of cases. just using categories and keeping it as or will work out for you. If you aren't seeing all of these rule sets or the ability to have multiple selections match, it's probably because you're on a free version of Dynamic Connector Block, in which case you would just be able to match one category or one tag. But you wouldn't have this whole rule sets option here. I believe we have a different setup here. Okay, so if you have any questions about how this logic kind of works, feel free to reach out. I'd love to kind of talk through it. It can be really advanced, but ideally, we're going to show you how to make it super easy. Let me click leave here. What I want you to really understand is how these priorities work. Higher priority is going to be checked first. How these groups work. Different groups are going to connect to different dynamic connector block insertion points. So when I look at this block being inserted, this is responsible for the ebook group. And then each individual item is going to control the content that's going to be output, as well as be where you define the rules that are checked for these groups and priorities.